And welcome to a brand new episode 33 of betPARX presents Stick to Hockey Live with Jason Myrtetus and Russ Cohen. Russ, let me tell the people about betPARX because it's fantastic. You got to get the new app. It's easy to use, same game parlays. You can bet props. You can bet spreads, teasers, puck lines, money lines. You can bet player performances, first to score, exact score. First to score is always fun because you can get plus 1,800 on a guy like I don't know, Mark Scheifele scoring the first goal for Winnipeg, and you get plus 1,800. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. For Scheifele, do you get that, or do you get that for like somebody a little bit lesser, like Neil Pionk or somebody?
Yeah, some of the top scorers, you'll get at least plus 1,200 for first to score. You'll get like plus 180 for just to score. Like Connor McDavid to score is probably like plus 110.
Yeah.
But Connor McDavid to have over 1.5 points, you'll get like plus 130 or something like that. But that's normal.
All right. Now you gave me perspective. I understand now.
So check out the new betPARX app. It is simple to use. It is launched. It's the best in mobile casino and sportsbook. And you can get in on all the action there, including the finality of the college basketball tournament, of course, the remainder of the NHL, NBA seasons, and subsequent playoffs. All there, faster to win than ever before, fun to use, easy to use. And right now, users get a choice of either a $20 casino bonus or a $20 free sports bet. So make sure you download the betPARX app. And you do need to be over 21, present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And they're the fine presenter of Stick to Hockey Live. So we always love it, having them be a part of this great program. And we love having our guest on today being a part of the program as well, because we like to debate stuff. The one and only Russ Cohen from sportsology.com, at Sportsology on Twitter. Doing great work on EP Rinkside as well.
Yep, EP Rinkside for prospects, full press coverage for some other hockey stuff, mostly prospects, and for baseball. And you remember baseball. Anyhow,
baseball's back, and I'm glad to see that.
But you're not the biggest baseball guy, so I don't try and tease you into that.
Yeah, I used to love it, Russ, but I'm just not in love anymore.
Right.
The game's disappointed me, and hopefully that they'll move the game in the right direction from a strategic standpoint to put more action back into the game.
Right. I agree with that. They need action.
Yeah, and I think one thing does it, and that would be limiting the shift.
Well, they supposedly have done that. So the shift is supposedly done. That's, again, I know the argument, and then we could bring it back to hockey. The argument is, well, the players should just be able to hit there. That's fine. But, when the game was created, like any game created, a shortstop was not supposed to be able to be on the other side of second base.
Yeah.
Like that's, that wasn't in the thought process back then.
Yeah. People say, well, yeah, the pitcher or the hitter should just be able to hit it the other way. Pitching's too good now to do that. And sometimes rules need to be put into sport to evolve it. I mean, the NHL did. They took out the red line.
Yeah. That was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge deal. Changed the game. So I remember the 2-line pass. Think about that.
Yeah. Just imagine if Mario had played with no red line, how many extra points he would have had. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because it stretches.
Because he never really went deep into his zone. He just would straddle the line and waiting for a pass.
Yeah, and was just so dynamic offensively, either scoring or setting guys up that he would have been just ridiculous. And there are some guys, like you look in sports and you go, man, if this guy would have played in that generation or a guy from the past played in this generation, it would just be incredible. But the greats can play in any generation.
And they can.
Because you go back and watch 80s hockey and watch those Edmonton teams and go, oh, Gretzky wouldn't have been crap today. Bullshit. Gretzky would have been great no matter what.
He would have. And actually, what's interesting is the stretch pass that is so popular now. Oh, my God. He would have been killing it on the stretch passes, especially when he was younger. Forget it.
Coffee to Gretzky.
Oof.
On the stretch. I mean, Coffee was unbelievable. Real quick, because now that we mentioned Paul Coffey and some of the great defensemen, and there's so many great offensive defensemen in today's game, but Roman Josi, Russ, I mean, he's getting into rarefied air with the amount of he has. And he seems to be in on everything Nashville does. I mean, can this guy be denied the Norris this year? I know a lot of people.
I mean, the Norris is so hard. I mean, I get to vote, and I probably will study this for a day just for the Norris, because there's him, there's Fox, there's McCarr. Like it's ridiculous how many guys and how close it could be. But I saw Yossi do something like superhuman against the Flyers in not the most recent game, but the game in Philly when the puck was shot down the end. He got there and got to do the touch up, which, it gets whistled with only, I want to say 3 seconds to go, 4 seconds to go. And I didn't think a human could do it that quick. You remember that? Where he got one more offensive zone faceoff out of it because he really just put on the Jets. Like, that was incredible. He does things like that all the time.
Yeah, he is so good. I mean, what he likes to do too is he'll activate in the offensive zone. And I remember talking to, I think it was Nick Schultz about this, Flyers assistant coach. He's a guy that will get in down below the bottom of the circle in the offensive zone, but then cycle his way out high. And a lot of it has to do with just how confident he is with the puck. Because a lot of guys, you don't like to cycle out high, out by the blue line, because if you lose it, it's going the other way.
Yes.
But he creates so much from there. And you saw it in that game-winning goal on Sunday where he cycled down below the net, out high, and then he has that slap pass to Jeannot for the game winner with 19 left.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just he does some things now that not many can do. And he's really at the height of his game. Like right now at 31, we are seeing his best hockey. Yeah. And, I'd say that's pretty typical. 28, 29, 30, 31, right in that range.
Defenseman, right?
Yeah, especially for a defenseman. It's really unbelievable, though, what he has turned into. I don't know if anybody would have thought that.
Yeah, he is spectacular. Speaking of that, before we get to the Flyers, there's a guy that's going to be a pending UFA in Calgary. He's got ties to the area, as you know.
Oh, yeah. I've skated at the rink. It's only 20 minutes from my house.
Yeah, and his name is all over the place in there with a bunch of others as well. But you look at Johnny Gaudreau, 30 goals, 60 assists, plus 49. Daryl Sutter has gotten this guy to play a complete game like he's never played before. Now, he's had dynamic seasons, Russ, but he's just been so good in totality this season. Gaudreau has. And, I mean, he's going to get paid, but does he leave Calgary, in your opinion, and get to unrestricted free agency?
Yeah, I think that's his goal, and I think that's going to happen. I think Calgary blew it. They had their shot. Mm-hmm. They sort of rolled the dice on this year, and they came up snake eyes because they probably thought, Gaudreau's been good for us. He's been tailing off a little bit, and now he's having his best year going into that. They didn't trade him because, hey, they're in it, and they feel like they could win a cup. So now they're in that worst spot where they're going to have to trade his rights to somebody. And I don't think it could be the Flyers because I don't think they can come up with the funds to do it.
Yeah,
I don't.
He's going to get paid. I mean, so if he's doesn't sign in Calgary, the longest term he can sign is obviously 7 years.
Right.
What does that number look like in AAV over 7 years for him? Is it 9.5?
9.5? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 9.5. I think New Jersey would do it.
Yeah. Well, look what they gave Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean, if you get him and you have Hamilton and you have Hughes, then you've got some real. And Heischer's not as dynamic as the other three. That's why I kind of left him on the next one. But that's some pretty dynamic players. Then if their goaltending gets solidified, Devils could start being a real big problem.
Yeah. Mackenzie Blackwood has been the guy that they thought was going to be the guy, and maybe they're thinking he's not the guy now.
There's issues with his heel, and take it from a guy that a year ago got a bone spur in his, meaning me, and it's just coming around now, almost a year later, and I've done all kinds of PT. Like, I've been walking the whole time. I have not been running at all, and I feel like I might be able to now, but I think even a month or two ago, I wouldn't have been able to. And so, you're a goalie now. You're putting all that pressure on your heel, and so I think they were a little worried.
Yeah, the feet for the goalie is the connection to the ice, and so much relies on that. So much so that a lot of goalies won't even wear two-piece skates anymore. It's all one piece because of the connection that you get to the ice and the field.
Are there any barefoot goalies? Like, I know some players go barefoot. Mm-hmm. Do any goalies do that?
Absolutely, I did for years.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, you just feel like you want more connection to the feel with the ice, and you get that barefoot inside the boot of the skate.
So
And
when
with
your foot
skates,
goes numb, that's just normal. Like I just my feet would be freezing. Like I don't know how you get past that.
yeah, there are times where you're like, "Oh my god, it feels like there's no blade underneath me. My foot is just hovering above the ice, and it's cold because you don't have a lot of action."
Right.
In NHL buildings, a little different because it's warmer in those buildings.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
warmer environment than, rink 4 at Iceline, which is one of
Yeah.
the coldest ones in the area. Let me ask you about Owen Tippett, Russ, because
Hmm.
he's the piece that essentially comes back for Giroux, not the whole thing. The draft pick's a couple years away. But let me take you back to 2017 when it was his draft year. What did you think of him as a prospect in his draft year coming into the NHL?
I liked him. I just looked it up recently. I had him ranked 11th. He went 10th. Generally, when I rank somebody, they could go anywhere within 5 spots or 6 spots if I'm doing a good job of it. So I liked his shot. I liked his physical toughness. Those things you still see. The skating was good, but needed to get better. The skating's better. So I liked all those things. But the problem with Owen Tippett is he hasn't improved a lot since that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an easy talking point, like on a broadcast. Oh, he's got such a great shot. Oh, look, it hit the post. Or he's got this. I've noticed some things in him that I'm willing to talk about. And one of them is I think he needs a shooting coach. I think this offseason, I don't know if you know this, you may, because you're really on the inside, but Claude Giroux had a shooting coach once when he wanted to score more. He went to a guy named Pat Malloy, started working with him on different angles and everything. Because you remember, there was a lot of us were saying, hey, Giroux should score more. He should.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to say 3-4 years ago, he came back out and was scoring like crazy. He was really starting to fool goalies as he was a little older.
Yep.
And it really helped him. Tippett, and I'm not sure Giroux needed it, but he's such a crazy guy, wanted to stay on top, that I get it. Owen Tippett needs it. I see times where he's rushing his shot, and that's where he's hitting the post. I see times where he's trying to do a backhand, but he doesn't have a quick enough trigger for that.
Mm-hmm.
He does have a quick enough trigger when he's at the circle with his wrist shot. He knows how to do that. But the other thing is, and this really needs to get worked on. You know how when they have him set up as the hammer on the power play, you've got to be ready to just shoot and go. Like Giroux, you gave him the puck, it was just you can't wait a half second. You can't decide something. And if you noticed, he hasn't been doing that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I remember talking to Joel Farabee about this, because you remember Farabee's rookie year.
I do.
He gets into the league and he gets all these chances. Seems like he's always in the right spot, but he just couldn't finish. He had 6 goals that year, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes back the next year and he's finishing. And I remember asking Joel about it. I said, Joel, you had a ton of chances last year. This year you're kind of burying them. Like, what's the deal? And he's like, it was the main thing I worked on in the offseason. And he had a shooting coach.
Yeah.
It's basically, for lack of a better term, not maybe shooting coach, but finishing coach.
Yes.
Because to finish at the NHL, and Joel talked about this, he said, goalies in the NHL made you think you had something just to take it away.
Right.
They almost give you a look.
Yeah, they're like, look, you could score, and then they come over and save it. Yeah, I get it.
The cat and mouse game. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you give him a little glove because you're looking for, because you know that if I give him a little extra net here, he's probably going to go there, and that predictability allows you to anticipate it. Yeah, and I mean, you do that a lot as a goaltender, but he knew that he had to change his release angles. He had to vary where he released the puck from. A lot of people just see the shot and they go, okay, that's a shot. No. The reason why I looked at this the other night, and it was the Flyers game against Colorado, Kadri scores that first goal. Why does he score it? Because he pulls it to his feet for the release.
Yeah.
And you don't know where the release is coming. You don't get as much on it, but these guys get a lot on everything.
Of course.
Why is Austin Matthews a great scorer? Because he's constantly changing his release.
And he's got deception with that shot. He does.
Yeah. When he pulls it, and when a forward pulls it into his body, closer to his body, it's less information you're now giving the goalie.
Right.
If the puck's out, you're reading the shoulders, the eyes, the positioning of the body, where the puck is on the stick, on the blade of the stick, the release, all those things. As he pulls it in, everything's changing,
Yeah.
and there's less predictability on if he's going to go short side, long side, 5-hole, or high.
Yeah. I think this is a big deal for Tippett. He has
I
to
do too.
this.
I totally agree with you, Russ.
Yeah, I'm glad because
fire at the NHL level.
No, he's not going to learn this at the NHL level. It's not going to get better in 20 games this season. You know, he might go on a little scoring streak, but this is essentially why he's not been scoring. And whether Florida did anything with him or not, we'll never know. But the Flyers have to try to do this because that is the only way you're getting this guy to be like a 20, 25 goal scorer, because the guy we see right now is not going to be able to do that.
No, just taking the shots from good spots is not going to be enough at the NHL level. The goaltending is too good.
It is.
You're so right. You got to learn how to finish at the NHL level, and that is different. Like, he's got good numbers in the AHL, 60 points.
Yeah, because the goalies aren't as good.
Yeah, and the structure's not as good.
Right, and the structure's not as good.
Yeah. To me, he goes to the right spots. He drives the net hard. He moves well for his size.
Yeah, he definitely gets. There's some things he does that are really good. He gets players involved. He's worked on his playmaking because he hasn't been scoring, and his playmaking's gotten a little better. Those kinds of things are very good. I just feel like if you're going to get 15 or more minutes of ice time and you're going to be on the top power play and they're going to put you on the hammer, you have to score. Like, that's it. Like, if he doesn't score, he's basically just another third liner. Like, that's really what it boils down to at this point.
Yeah, to me, he needs to be refined. I think the tools are there, but the refining of those tools for the NHL level. I mean, and he's got to be able to, play away from the puck.
Yeah, that's like the game against the Avs was his worst game. Not the Avs, sorry, the Predators, the worst game against the puck, which no surprise. I mean, they're a team that plays big and heavy, but that's the other thing. So I'm going to drag the rest of the Flyers into this and say, if you remember, Yo was talking about how they needed to be big and heavy. Fine. So they brought up a lot of big and heavy guys. They've got McEwen up there. They got Hudson up there. They got this. They got that. The problem is just big and heavy in this league isn't good enough. You got to be big and heavy and fast and skilled. Otherwise, you're going to come up short. And that's why even in that game against Nashville, where you could say, hey, they scored 4 goals. Yeah, but they also let Nashville score 4 in one period because at times guys were standing around, including like Kevin Hayes, even though Hayes is doing much better offensively now. He looks a lot healthier, but he was standing around at times. It made me think, Jason, that there still may need to be a core change with this team. I first I was sort of like, they might be able to be okay. And that's not Van Riemsdyk. Like, we're aside from Van Riemsdyk, they may have to do another change because it's going to be hard to all of a sudden bring in another coach and not have some of these guys fall back on bad habits that they've been doing all season that Yo is not fixing.
Yeah.
Like, Yo talks a good game, but the guys aren't doing what he is saying to us that they should be doing.
Yeah. And if they do, it's for spurts. It's not true habitual commitment to it.
Right.
And look, maybe, some of these guys that you're talking about, maybe, part of that core change. I mean, I can identify 6 or 7 guys on the team right now that in total their play is trending in a good direction. And which isn't to say some of the guys that I'm not going to mention aren't, but these guys are more pronounced. Obviously Kevin Hayes is. He's healthier than he's been, I think, in 2 years, Russ.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, he's moving like 19-20 Hayes, which I'm surprised he's moving that well this season.
Me too.
After that cleanup and the infection. So he's moving in the right direction. I think Konechny clearly is. Travis Sanheim.
Yeah, he's finally figuring it out. It took a lot of this season, though.
Yeah, it did. And it shouldn't at this point in his career.
No.
Sanheim obviously is playing at a level and confidence-wise. And
offensively, I still am seeing defensive flaws now that are kind of like making me think, because if you're going to go in deep with Travis Sanheim and you're getting to that point where you have to make that decision in this summer, these next 20 games are important to see if he could hold his own defensively. Like, he has to be able to just hold his own.
Yeah. And you don't want he's not a top pairing guy. He needs to be a second pairing guy. And if he's in that situation and he can hold his own, then you got a good situation. Farabee, I think, is a guy that we both believe in and never really questioned.
Nope.
But Morgan Frost is starting to show some signs. He doesn't have the numbers to show for it, but he's playing better.
He made some really good plays yesterday against a good team. I think he has been doing those other little things. He's one of the few guys that actually is playing Mike Yo hockey, actually.
And he's creative too.
He
And
is.
then, and then you look at, you look at York and Provorov.
Well, actually, and just to go back, though, the biggest reason, and this is where I was kind of like upset with Yo, is Frost feels this comfortable because he's not at center. If Frost is at center, he's not feeling this comfortable because he has to work on too many things right now. He's feeling this comfortable because now it's easier for him, which means, hey, maybe he won't be a center or maybe he'll be a center in a year or two. But at least now they have to, the Flyers have to know now that, and they knew it, but they still put him at center because Joe talked about it. Like, hey, we've got to just leave this kid on the wing right now because we have to let him develop first on the wing and then we'll worry about it.
Yeah, he wouldn't be the first guy to be a winger when he first comes in and then move to
No.
center where he may be better suited long term.
Right.
But you lessen the load on the player.
Yeah.
You just lessen the load on him.
Yeah.
And then York and Provorov, Provorov's had a very erratic season, but all of a sudden you're not seeing the same amount of mistakes. And I was talking to Bill Meltzer about this on Flyers Daily, and Bill his assessment of it was that, York plays with a lot of structure, and Provorov needs a partner that has structure.
Yeah, I think he's right. I think Bill's right on there. The only thing about York is, and this is what I try and tell people, he's not going to be like a super duper offensive defenseman. He's not. No. He's a very good defenseman. He's a very good skater. He makes good plays. He's good on puck retrieval. He'll get more physical. He's a really good passer. But his shot isn't fantastic either. It's not. And when you see him at the point of the power play, he might take one or two, but he's passing more than he's shooting too. And you kind of wonder if he'll work on that a bit more, because now that he's reached this level, that's where it's showing a little for him.
Yeah. I mean, with him, there's a few things. I mean, there's still some areas of his game, and he's playing the right side for the first time. And
yes, that's all new for him too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a benefit offensively in the offensive zone. In the neutral and D zone, it's obviously a hindrance with your stick in the middle of the ice. But that being said, I like the way he uses his stick to deny entries. And that quick transition, we saw it twice, Russ. We saw it Zach McEwen's goal against Colorado. And we saw it on the quick up to Kevin Hayes, blue line to blue line. And then Hayes eventually dropped it off for Konechny for that one-time goal in the game prior to that against St. Louis. But he gets that puck. He doesn't go D to D. He transitions right away with a stretch pass right up to the blue line, and then you're back in and attacking. And to me, that's like when you were a kid and you were in the pool at the local pool and you were getting dunked by the bully, and he only let you up for a half a second, and then boom, you're back under. That's what that feels like for a team defending.
Yeah, and York did that with the NTDP, and I think to some degree at Michigan, to some degree, because they played a little tighter there. But yeah, and so I do think that's where his real talent lies, and that is starting to come through. Do I know that he is a top pairing right side defenseman for next year? I do not know that yet.
No, I'm not ready to go there yet.
I don't even know if Ryan Ellis starts the season.
Yeah,
because I'll just tell you my feeling about that. I'm not a doctor, but it makes me worry when they say they know what it is, and now they're just trying to figure out a course of action. They went a whole season without surgery, so clearly they thought rehabbing would work, and it didn't, whatever this kind of knee injury is. And so if he doesn't get operated on soon, it's going to worry me that they're just worried about which type of operation to give him for him to have the best career. Yeah. That's what I'm going to start getting worried at, because most of the guys, Jay, you know it, I know it, we see it. They usually get operated on pretty quickly and know what the recovery is and know everything else. All Chuck will say is, yeah, we're hoping he'll be back next season. We're pretty sure of that. But there's no way you could be definitive at this point.
Yeah, it's been shrouded in mystery. I mean,
it really has
4 games, and we still don't have a definitive answer on what the injury is.
No.
Why the mystery? That's one of those questions that a lot of people are asking. And, there is this notion that maybe you want to have the surgery at a particular time because you don't want a gap to exist from recovery from the surgery into training for next year. It was something that Kevin Hayes had after the core surgery last year at the end of the season.
Okay.
Had that gap after recovery and then started the captain skates and re-injured it. Sometimes when you have that gap.
Yeah, but that's a core. This is a knee.
Yeah.
I don't hear about this with knees.
Do you know it's a knee with Ryan Ellis?
I know for sure. No, I'm still guessing, I guess, but I don't know for sure.
Hip.
Okay. So if it's a hip, that is a longer recovery than any knee operation out there.
Yeah, with the exception of a tear, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but at this point, if it was just a tear, that's and it makes sense. It could be because that's why they maybe were trying to rehab it, but I guess it does depend on the degree of tear. But you see with guys, the hips take a while, even just to play well again. Like Sagan, it took last year was just like a flash of what he used to be. He's a little bit more what he should be like this year. So, I almost think people should hope it's a knee over a hip.
Yeah, it's amazing like what they can do with hips now, though.
But
again, do we know, is it degenerative or is it, injured?
No, I mean, that's the whole thing.
We don't know.
We don't know. I know about degenerative hips because I was born with one.
Yeah.
So I happen to know a lot about hips. I do. And I never once thought it was a hip. And I still kind of don't think it is. But again, we're guessing.
The thing is like you can have the hip injury and it can manifest itself in the knee because.
Oh, yeah.
Because
the favoring factor. I've favored my whole life, and eventually my knee blew out as a result on that. So I lived that, so I get it.
But yeah, I know what like hip pain. Like my hips are gassed. I went to the doctor, my orthopedic guy, like a year ago, and I just said, what am I looking at here? And he was like, well, you're going to have a replacement, probably full. And he's like, I don't know if you were born this way or you just have done so much damage, but it's like your hip sockets are shallow.
Yeah.
Like you have the ball that goes in.
Yeah.
And he's like, yours are shallow. Plus, not to mention I have like bursitis on. So like when I'm walking down the stairs, sometimes I'll be like almost like buckle. Then I'm like, oh shit, horrible pain. But
just be happy you have a ball. I don't have one. I was born without a hip socket.
Oh wow.
No hip socket. I couldn't walk till I was 5.
Holy shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went to Canada. This guy invented a procedure. I was the youngest to ever have it done. This is back in, a long time ago. So
back in the 40s.
But I'm really lucky because they couldn't find these things on x-rays. Like x-rays just don't tell the story. So, but it actually grew out of my muscle tissue. My muscle tissue grew around the hip bone as I got older, as I was growing as a 5-year-old up, and it worked. So the guy was right. But again, I, always felt like I was going to need a hip replacement, and I haven't had to get it yet. You pushed ahead the agenda because of the position you played.
Yeah, and still, like it's the one thing that hurts the most on my body. Knees have always been a little banged out, but the hips are horrific.
Yeah.
Speaking of goaltending, the job that I know that they gave up the 6th spot to Colorado. I don't know that you could have stopped that in that situation. 3 and 4 days back to back. And, then Colorado has the hockey gods a little bit on their side, too, with some deflections off your own players.
Yep.
Like they needed it. But then Martin Jones gives up 5 against Nashville, but he was good in the game.
No, he was okay in that game. That was one where I can't get on him.
Yeah. And, you look at the 4 of the goals deflected again. Team's got to do a better job of preventing that. But the job that Kim Dillabaugh has done with the Flyers goaltending, when you consider where both of those guys were at the end of last season, with Carter coming off a horrific season as a young player, Martin Jones 3 years playing behind the team with the least amount of D structure in the NHL over those 3 years in the San Jose Sharks. And a bunch of guys that can play offensive from the blue line, but can't defend their way out of a wet paper bag.
Vlasic used to be able to, but he's that's too slow now.
Yeah, and you look at it, and so many bad habits developed in Martin Jones' game, and Dilly's done a really good job kind of getting both those guys back to playing at a high level.
I've been very impressed that Carter Hart, even when he's getting lit up because it's mainly his team's fault, hasn't really suffered mentally. Like last year we saw it. Like we knew, and I saw it, and that's when I got on Twitter and said they really need to rest this guy, and had all kinds of arguments, and then eventually they really needed to rest that guy. But this year he's in a whole different mental place, and I really do feel like Dillabaugh deserves credit for that. Jones, I'm still 50-50 about. I think, I call him 3-goal a game Jones. He's going to give up 3 goals just about every game he plays. Now, if that's what it's come to, because Dillaba has gotten it to that point where you know that it's not going to ever get any worse than that, because it really doesn't for him for the most part, then I think that's a win for him. If he's just sort of done what he can, then I can't blame him. But I'm still on the fence about Jones.
Yeah, and I just don't know that you can't move forward in the next year with Felix Sandstrom and Carter Hart.
I think they're going to have to, unless they find somebody that will sign for $750 that could be better than Sandstrom, it's going to be hard. I just don't know where they're going to get this person from. Do you want 42-year-old Craig Anderson? No. So I don't know. I mean, this is where being a cap-strapped team kind of hurts you, because you'd like to be able to spend a little more on the goaltending, because Hart is still a young guy.
Yeah, and you just don't want a backup goaltender to undo you because he's got to play. There's too many back-to-backs in this league, and he's got to. The backup also has to be a guy that it can step in if your starter gets injured for a period of time.
And we can't say that we know Fedotchenko, would do any better, only because first he has to get Fedotov. Yeah. Rusty Fedotchenko on the mind. Yeah, Fedotov first would have to get here, and then you'd have to see what he looks like in North American ice, because, again, the angles are so different. Every goalie tells me that there is a transition period, and you can't really do that at the NHL level.
Yeah, it's too unforgiving. You have to play in the AHL first.
Now, maybe you could get away with 10, 12 games down there and do it, and have Sandstrom be the backup for that, and then be the backup. Maybe.
I mean, are players coming over from Russia right now, though?
No.
That's
nobody is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other part of the equation. And Fedotov's put up great numbers in the Olympics and has put up great numbers in the KHL playoffs.
And I've watched him. I mean, I watched a lot of video, and we saw him in camp here 2 years ago. Yep. And I think he took some of that and really ran with it. And I think this year he is really a different goalie. I think he's even
25
faster.
Years of age too. I know he's not a young man.
No, but again, 25 is that age sometimes where it starts to really click for a goalie, especially a bigger goalie. Name me another, Ben Bishop that gets in the league young. I can't do it.
Yeah, a guy that size took a while, Russ, to be able to figure out how to move at the NHL level without just relying on his size.
And that's my point. He was probably 27.
Yeah, you're right. And then eventually those big guys, though, the injuries, I mean, the body just takes us going down and up at that.
But size. I do think, Fedotov could be that guy. But again, there's a lot that has to go right. There's a lot of ifs there.
Yeah. And you just don't know. You can't go into the season not knowing when you're trying to recoil. Real quick, before we wrap up, let's talk about you. I love making predictions when you're on. Let's make some predictions here as of the 28th of March, with basically a month to go in the regular season. The season's going to end for the Flyers. It ends on the 29th of April.
Right.
So who are your top 4 or top 2 teams in each conference? Who do you think is going to meet basically in the conference final? Let's start in the West. Are you a firm believer in Colorado? Is Minnesota a team that's built for the playoffs now with Marc-Andre Fleury, if he ends up being the guy over Cam Talbot, and the way Billy Guerin's built that team to be a whole lot of nasty? Then you look at teams in the Pacific, whether can Edmonton go on a heater? Do they just not have the goaltending? What about the Kings? Or obviously Calgary has been a team that has really, really impressed me.
Yeah.
St. Louis is a team that's built that could go on a run. Who do you think the top 2 teams are that are going to end up in the Western Conference Final?
Well, preseason, I picked Minnesota. I'm sticking with them, especially with the upgrades. Yeah. So that's one of them.
Delorier is all kinds of nasty for them.
Oh, no, that was a great pickup by Guerin. He's got good hands, too. He's the same guy as Zach McEwen, except he could actually score a little bit.
Yep.
And Delorier really is good at what he does, at antagonizing and being physical. So that kind of guy in the playoffs is really good to have. I'm going to say, I'm really struggling. I think it could be St. Louis or Calgary, but if you're going to make me pick one, I'm going to go St. Louis, because it's not that far removed from them being there before. And I kind of think that Sutter is going to run Calgary into the ground at some point.
That team. Sutter in his time in LA didn't do that.
But that's a long time ago, Jay. The league has even changed since then, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get that kind of buy-in for that long without guys breaking down. That's what I'd like to see.
We know how good Colorado has been this regular season. I mean, they're off the charts.
They're off the charts, great offensively. Their goaltending is good, but not great.
Yeah,
their defense is
not built for the playoffs, are they?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's what worries me about them.
Yeah, I don't know. You can outscore your problems in the playoffs. We've seen too many teams try and do it, and too many teams fail at doing it.
Absolutely, it definitely changes to the point where it's hard to score 4 goals in a game in the playoffs.
Yeah. Let's go to the Eastern Conference and look at the teams here, because only one team in the NHL averages over 4 goals per game. That's the Florida Panthers.
And that's why I picked preseason to actually win the cup. So I'm going to pick them definitely to go. And actually, somebody I know very well took that bet, just to let you know, based on what I told them, because they were asking me preseason. So that could be a pretty good bet for somebody.
Wow.
But again, don't go with me in bets, because I'm not the best guy to go with. But I still have to go with Florida, because I do feel like they're pretty complete, and Bob is playing really good hockey. And now Spencer Knight has gotten hot too, just in case. So I think things are going there right at the right time. Zito put the right team together. He made the right moves. They've got Giroux there. Giroux is going to be a massive upgrade for them, especially when the playoffs come. He's going to feel like he has a second life, because it's been a while. It's going to be great. So Florida definitely. After that, it's really interesting, because it is going to almost, figure out where the team ends up, because I almost want to pick the Rangers, but I don't know if they can do it unless they're actually a wild card team to face Florida the way they're going to be, right, with their record. So I'm trying to think, who else would I pick if it's not
going Carolina here? I mean, Carolina has just got
I think the Rangers are better than Carolina. I take Shesterkin over Freddie Anderson every day. I think Carolina's still got the defensive structure that the Rangers don't, but Carolina does struggle at times to score.
But
do.
The Rangers, they just give up so much quality, Russ, and Shesterkin's been so good. Is that sustainable?
No, and it may not be, and that's why this might not be their year. But I'm trying to think.
I mean, the Caps. No, I don't.
No, definitely not the Caps. And Pittsburgh, I think, will come. Nah, I think they're going to come up short at some point. I do.
What about Toronto or Tampa, or even Boston for that matter? I mean, Boston is
Boston's better. Like they definitely are rebounding. Nah, I think Tampa and Florida are going to match up before the Stanley Cup. So, and I do expect Florida to beat them this time.
Yeah,
I do.
Oh, last year was fantastic.
It was, and I think it will be even better this year. I can't pick Tampa as a result, knowing that that's coming.
So you're going Florida and maybe the Rangers.
I'll go the Rangers and Florida. Yeah.
The two I have in the West, I have Calgary. Getting to the Cup, as a matter of fact, in the West. And I have the other top team in the West as either the Wild or the Blues. I think Colorado has got second round knockout written all over it for some reason.
So we both have the Blues going to the conference final. So that's
I like the Blues because they're good.
But who's going to be in net? It's going to be Husso now, right?
Oh yeah, it's going to be Husso because Binnington's a punk.
Okay, but hold on. I know you're not a fan, but is this a function of Jordan Binnington or Craig Berube or both? Because we know what Craig Berube is like with goalies too.
Yeah, but why is he not that way with Ville Husso?
Because Husso is playing the part of Ray Emery. That's why.
I'm not buying that.
and Jordan Binnington, because he won already, he's the Steve Mason that Berube is now starting to despise.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
I mean, you remember he despised Steve Mason, right? We could admit that.
Yeah. Well, Mace was a little different.
I know, but I guess it will be with Husso, though. I guess that's the way it's going to.
Right now, if the playoffs started, it's Husso until he loses the crease, if that happens.
Right.
But in the Eastern Conference, I do like Florida, but I do like Carolina as well. Freddie Anderson's been so good all year.
Boy, I'll tell you, you're a goalie guy. To back Freddie Anderson in the playoffs.
I know. I'm on thin ice there.
You really are. I might put you in over
anyway.
Freddie Anderson.
Yeah, you haven't seen me in a while.
It's been a couple of years since Lincoln Financial. That's true.
Oh God. And I'm a couple of years older in the whole thing, so I'll go with Florida. Yeah, it's funny. I did get a text from Giroux that said the reason why he chose Florida is because Russ picked him preseason to go to the Cup final.
Yeah, of
He
course.
did say that in the text to me. He said Russ.
Of course
Cohen
he did.
I get it, of course.
No, of course. But listen, I saw the structure of everything there, but I'll be really honest. Did I think Bob was going to be the goalie? No, I thought Spencer Knight would probably be the goalie. Yeah. So I think Bob has fooled us all and having another great year where he almost looked like he was going to be on the scrap heap and just collecting his check.
Boy, it's a big check too. And he's 4 more years after this.
I know. Well, here's the funny thing. One last thing on that. So people are like, "Well, you got to trade Spencer Knight, right?" I'm like, No. If Bob becomes the backup, then you just have to deal with it as a team, and you just have to wait until he's like 2 years out, and then maybe you buy him out. But you got to go at least a couple more years with these two guys. I'm not trading Spencer Knight for the life of me. No way.
No, why would you have drafted him in the first round? 14th overall?
I know, because people feel like, oh, he's going to get blocked. He's going to get blocked for the next 4 years. People never look at like what else might happen. Like, this could be the last great year of Bob, and then next year they might decide, hey, it really is Spencer Knight's time, and then you just have to suck it up with Bob, like the Islanders had to suck it up with DiPietro, and you just have a really overpriced backup. But it happens.
I agree. I'm not moving Spencer Knight. No way.
No.
I'm not investing what I did in him just to flip him. Nope. Try and get more. I need goaltending, because without it, you don't have anything. And
they have everything else. Like, they literally have everything else on that team.
Every team that you look at that is rebuilt and retooled, or whatever you want to call it, they all have one common denominator. The ones that have had success have goaltending. The ones that have not do not.
Yeah, that's why Edmonton, I can't back Koskinen. I
can't do it. And it's why Toronto hasn't got out of the second round. They haven't had the goaltending at the right time. They don't have.
Campbell was doing it until he got hurt, but that's Jack Campbell's story. Is like he always seems to get hurt, and I can't back Peter Mrazek. Like I would. There's no way.
No,
I'd have to have my head examined.
I still can't unsee Mrazek when he was a Flyer from a couple of years ago. He was.
Now maybe you could answer this question, since it's a few years out. Why did he fall so far out of favor that he didn't even have a locker in Voorhees?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he was a problem, like he was.
But why did he not have a locker? He was still a member of the team, and he didn't have a spot.
That's a good question.
Somebody said, get him out of here.
Mm-hmm. Didn't pay his real estate bill.
I don't know. I mean,
lost his lot.
But it's something. It got reported.
Yeah,
I always wanted to know that. We'll never know that.
I'll
but
dig in and find out.
Yeah, but Shalgren, is Shalgren going to be the guy for Toronto? No.
You can't go into the playoffs expecting that, especially for a team with those expectations.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting what happens there in the offseason if they get bounced in the first round.
It's just so hard for them. Like, they have all the pressure to get out of the first round, and there's no easy matchup where you could say, oh, Toronto's going to beat them.
No, they could end up as a wild card team here in a matter of days.
I know.
Points with Boston.
I know.
Nuts.
If they match up against either Boston or Tampa in the first round, I can't pick them.
See you later. Yep. That's see you later time, right? I mean, they could match up against Carolina in the first round.
They could.
As a wild
I
card.
would give them a chance against Carolina because of my dislike of Freddie Anderson in the playoffs, that I might be able to pick the Leafs then. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll take Carolina. I'll take Brendan Moore in Carolina. No Dougie Hamilton, no problem. You got Tony DeAngelo.
The only problem is, we don't know what DeAngelo is going to do in the playoffs. He's got 3 games under his belt. That's all he's got in the playoffs. He has a great year, no question. The MVP, though, it's funny. If I had to tell you who the MVP is of Carolina, it's Rod Brind'Amour. It's not any of the players on the ice.
I would agree. He's unbelievable. He's a great coach. He's got those guys so bought in. It's insane. All right, Russ, let's wrap it up.
All right.
Check out sportsology.com. That's where you can see all of Russ's work. Any new features on sportsology.com that people should keep an eye out for?
What did I just put up? I actually just put up a New York Mets article yesterday on what they need to improve on if they really want to go far, not just to win the division, but actually to win it all. So I did put that up. I'm gonna have a new rankings probably this week now that the top prospects game is over. So I will work on that next couple of days. So definitely keep an eye out for that too.
Check it out at sportsology.com. Read Russ's work there. Also at EP Rinkside, great stuff there as well. And at Sportsology on Twitter. Russ, thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Jace.
There he is, Russ Cohen, joining us on this episode of Stick to Hockey Live. And let me tell you one last time about betPARX, because the new app is up, it's running, and it's doing fantastic, and you're going to love it. It's easy to use, easy to navigate, easy to get your action in, and you got to check it out. Whether you want to bet exact scores, first to score, points, over-unders on players, player performances, same game parlays. So you just want to go old school, puck lines, money lines, all that stuff. You can do that as well. Check it out at betPARX on Twitter. Follow them on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as well. There you're going to get daily features, great content, and tons more. And it's easy to sign up, fun to use, and it's faster to win than ever before. And how about this? For users of betPARX, you get a choice of either a $20 casino bonus or a $20 free sports bet. So make sure you download the new app if you don't have it by now and check it out and just see how easy it is to navigate. And you're going to love it because it's great stuff. And coming up on Thursday's episode, we'll have another edition of Tone's Takes. Tone will give you some great places to put your money. It's the betPARX app, everything you need in a mobile casino and sports betting app. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And again, follow them on the social channels at betPARX on Twitter. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. You get this podcast. You get the OGs podcast with myself and Harry Mays. New episode coming tomorrow, and much, much more. So check it out, betPARX app, and get your action in on the remainder of the hockey season and playoffs, basketball season, college and pro, and, of course, baseball around the corner as well. So that's going to put a wrap on this episode 33 of betPARX presents Stick to Hockey Live. We'll talk to you Thursday on a brand new episode right here. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And